Hi, I'm Tania and this is Unit 13 titled Connections. For my project, in the initial research, we had an orange book where we gathered our initial thoughts about what we thought about connections. I started looking about connections between internet and how the internet connects, and then from that I connected it to how the internet can affect people's minds, and then I started looking at things that affect people's minds, and then that's when I came across Alzheimer's. And for my research, I looked at so I was looking at dementia and Alzheimer's in specific, but dementia was the main topic. So I was looking at what it was in general, and then the symptoms and what can cause it. And then I also researched, because I went to the Tate Modern, and there was this an installation by Olaf Rainer, and that got me inspired I wanted to create my own installation where as soon as the audience walks in, they'd feel the same way that someone with Alzheimer's feels. So I'd have something that would, I don't know, maybe make them look away or trip over, because tripping over, just the symptoms that people with Alzheimer's have, that my installation would make them react the same way. But then it was a problem because it was a really big thing to create while I was in the initial stages of my research, so I had to do more development. So then I started looking at campaigns, because I wanted to create a campaign to inform and just inform people about what Alzheimer's is, because people are not really aware of it. At the same time, I'm creating a scrapbook where I just gather mini compositions from newspapers, magazines, different arrangements of posters that I like, which will give me ideas for my final piece. I also researched Saatchi Gallery, because I went there and there was this image from an unknown artist, and it was two girls and they had a plaster on top of their face. That image related me straight away to my project, because I was plasters mean cure, but Alzheimer's doesn't really have a cure. So then I started experimenting with my own pictures, putting plasters over the face, and then on top just writing Alzheimer's, really quick experiments. More research was Arnulf Rainer, because I like the way he manipulates pictures with materials, and also I like to work with textures because I like the feeling. Even when you scan it into the computer, I like the feeling of, so you look at the picture and it almost feels like you can touch it. So he does a lot of that, and then I done my own experiments where I just took pictures of some of my classmates and then used mod rock, string, spray paint, acrylic paint, and then wood and stuff, and just stuck it on top of the head area, because that's where Alzheimer's happens in the body. And then also I went to a talk in Ravensbourne University. Mr. Bingo was presenting, and he was showing us some of his work, and I really liked his style of drawing. It was quite comical, line drawings, and they were quite plain, but a really quick way of sketching, but also looks quite appealing. So I used a lot of his style for my work, just quick sketches, and then done the same thing with manipulating with materials, so just using mod rock, image transferring those line drawings on top of the materials. And then I came across some problems. So from the Mr. Bingo's research, he had an advent scratch card where you'd scratch off each day. Instead of eating a chocolate that children do, he scratched off each day and it'd be a naked person. So I thought of I wanted to do the scratch card because it's a way of you're scratching away something, and it linked me to people's thoughts, how Alzheimer's makes people forget. But it didn't really work out, because when I was trying to scratch it out, it was actually scratching away my image. And even though it could relate, it could be oh, it's scratching away the image, so it's scratching away the person, I just thought it wouldn't work out with my project, so I just left it. And then another problem was, I was experimenting with typography, but I decided to experiment with a typography that I had created in my last year's Unit 8 project. But then I thought it was too basic, I had already used that typography, I wanted to create something new. But the way I had done it, it was I used monoprint, so it was kind of fading away, and it gave that nice texture of decay and distortion, so I wanted to carry on that technique. So later on in the project I started looking more at typography. But another problem Well, I also researched this man. He's an author for fantasy books for children. He's called Terry Pratchett. He died of Alzheimer's, and there was 2 documentaries about his life on BBC called Living with Alzheimer's. So I watched both of them, and I took down notes, specifically like things he said, because there was a lot about him saying how he actually felt living with the disease. So I took all of those notes down, and then I researched the We Want You posters that are like really famous, like around already. And then I done my own drawing of Terry Pratchett, but with like pointing, because I wanted to do something like that for my final piece. But a problem was that it's already an idea that's out there, and I thought it wasn't original, and it was just not good enough for a final piece. So I left. I didn't want to do that anymore, but I still wanted to use like some part of Terry Pratchett in my project. So the words that I gathered from the documentaries, I used some of those quotes, and I thought I could display them in my final piece. So the 3 quotes which I decided to use was no getting away, as in there's no getting away from the disease once you have it. Strips you away, because that's one of the ways that he felt like. He felt like as soon as you have it, it just feels like everything is just stripping you away. You just don't feel like yourself anymore. And war with you, because he was saying how your brain automatically feels like it's at war with you. So those were the 3 quotes that I decided to use, and I was going to do a series of 3 posters for my final piece, so I'd have a quote on each. So then when I started looking at typography, I started doing loads of decay stuff and making typography look destroyed. So one of the things I scanned in, I done new monoprints how I had done before, because I thought it could have been improved. And then I scanned them in, but I just thought they looked really digital, and I like when work looks more like it's done physical. You scan it in and it still has like the aesthetics are not lost in the picture. So then I looked at another typographer called Craig Ward, specifically at the ink and water don't mix project he done, because I liked the way that the ink was making the writing look like it was leaking, and also giving a sense of, you know, the writing being destroyed the same way Alzheimer's destroys a person. So then I found this online tutorial that would help me make the work digitally, because I didn't have a lot of digital work in my project. So then I also done some digital examples of them. I also used materials such as sand, soil and sugar to create my quote. So I made a stencil, and then I'd put the sand over it. I'd lift up the stencil, and then I'd blow the writing a little bit so it'd look a bit like destroyed. And then I took pictures of them. And then I also looked at the art of glitch. Because glitches normally happen when like the coding in a software goes wrong. So then I thought it was also a nice technique to show distortion. I made my own with the quotes, and I found this website where you'd simply just have to place your image, and they automatically just make a glitch for you. But then I thought that's also too quite basic to create, so I wanted to make my own. So later on in the project I made my own collages. But another style of typography that I done was, this was like a quick experiment. On a piece of old cardboard, I just wrote down my 3 quotes, and then I just like lit them on fire, and then like in my garden at home, and then I just photographed them to give also that sense of burning is destroying. So my final ideas, throughout the project I was looking at distortion and destroying stuff. So for my images, I looked at, so Arnulf Rainer was one of my like crucial designers, because of the way he destroys the image with materials, and I like texture, so I thought that'd be a good way to present in my project. So I done a new photo shoot of like different expressions of like 2 of my classmates, and then I put materials on top of them and photographed them back into the computer. But then I thought they looked quite basic just as materials on top of the picture, so to show more that sense of decay and distortion, I ripped them up, just tore them all away, and then collaged them back together. And then when scanning them into the computer, the rips gave like a nice texture. I didn't play about with them too much on Photoshop because I didn't want to lose the aesthetics of it. So those were the pictures I used. My plan was to use 9 pictures on each poster. of like 3 different people to show different types of people can get Alzheimer's, like it's anyone who can have it. And then the message that I wanted to tell the audience was to volunteer. I came to this conclusion because I was talking to a cousin of mine who she had posted on Instagram that there was something to do with Alzheimer's Society, and I wasn't sure what was happening, so I messaged her, and she just had done this volunteering, like she'd done some volunteering for them, and then she told me that I should do some volunteering, but the problem was that I didn't have enough time to do it and attend college, so I thought, why not create posters that will convince people to volunteer? So that's when I thought Alzheimer's Society would be my client. My audience would be people who use transport for London, like using the tube and the underground, overground, because there's like an age range of like 18 to 35 where loads of people might have family members who suffer from Alzheimer's and might be willing to volunteer. So I started experimenting the images I had with all the different styles of typography. The one with the glitches, so I made these new collages because how I said the other ones looked too basic because I had used the website. So I'd collage each strip, like I'd cut out each strip and just stick it back together to make a new glitch. And then, yeah, so these are my 3 final pieces. I thought they were quite successful because the images definitely like portray the idea of distortion, decay, and like how someone feels. So the pictures look like someone feels really, you know, like they've just forgotten everything, and that sense that they're gonna die soon. And then the glitches were my strongest typography because they have, so when, like for example, when I look at it and I asked other classmates to look at it, they'd find it quite hard to read, but they'd still be able to read it. And yeah, I thought it was quite powerful to put on my poster. And then at the bottom, I've got it says join our team and volunteer now, because I want people to still know what the poster is about. Yeah, thank you.